Okay, let's spend some time on the second technique that we use, and it really is about recognizing the fact that some real estate markets in this country are better for flipping, some are better for buying rentals, and looking at what makes those markets better and how you can use our tools to hold the market up to those tools and then make a decision, should I flip in this market or should I buy rentals? The two tools that we have available for you are the linear versus nonlinear identification and the 1% rule. And let me break each of those down for you. Let me do that by using an example. Let's use the city of San Francisco as our example. And then let's use the city of Indianapolis as our other example. Because each of these real estate markets are completely different markets. They always have been, they always will be. And to be more specific, San Francisco never follows the 1% rule. Indianapolis always follows the 1% rule. San Francisco would be classified as a nonlinear market. And Indianapolis would always be a linear market. Now, because I know these and have applied them to these markets, then because San Francisco is never follows the 1% rule and it's not nonlinear, I know that San Francisco is good for flipping. And because Indianapolis almost always follows the 1% rule, and because it's a linear market, then I know that Indianapolis is good for rentals. Now, let's build on that. Let's really look at the 1% rule first. Okay? If I wanted to get, let's talk about a rent amount of $1,000 a month. If I want to get $1,000 a month rent in San Francisco, or if I want to get $1,000 a month rent in Indy. If I look in the rental app portion of the San Francisco newspaper on Craigslist, and I find properties that rent for $1,000 a month, and then I go see what those properties in those same neighborhoods are selling for, you will find that those properties are probably anywhere between $190,000 to $350,000. And if you look in Indianapolis for properties that are renting for $1,000, and then you go look to see what it would cost to buy those properties, you'll find that it's probably about $90,000. So think about that. Same rent, $1,000. You got to spend a couple $100,000 in San Francisco. You spend less than $100,000 in Indianapolis. Just using common sense, it's obvious to see which would be a better rental property. Because think of what the mortgage payment would be on a $200,000 property. You know, $1,800, $2,000 a month. What am I getting for rent? $1,000. So I would have negative cash flow every month. Every month, the rent wouldn't be enough to even cover my mortgage payment. Whereas in Indianapolis, if you got a mortgage payment on $90,000, your payments may be $600, $700, and $1,000 a month would easily cover that, and cover your taxes, and cover your insurance, and cover your management. Now, if you had no mortgage, you'd be looking at probably making somewhere in the range of 10% on the Indianapolis property, which is just like what we talked about over here with that 10% target. And in San Francisco, you'd probably be at 3, 4, maybe 5%. So the 1% rule looks at monthly rent versus what do I got to pay to get that property, purchase price and rehab. And when you have 1% or greater than your purchase price, like in the case of the Indy prop, it makes a good rental property because the rent will cover a mortgage, it'll cover taxes, it'll cover insurance, it'll give you a good return. And properties that don't follow the 1% rule very seldom are really good for rental properties. Now, if you look at a map of the country, properties that don't generally follow the 1% rule would be like Oregon, like anywhere along the California coast, anywhere then along the Sun Belt. So Arizona, Texas, Florida, and then up the eastern seaboard, the New Yorks and New Jerseys, they, for the most part, do not follow the 1% rule. And as you can see from the example, that means they're nonlinear as well. And let's go into that. Nonlinear versus linear just means that if a market is linear, it just goes up steady every year. And if it's nonlinear, it goes up in value and down in value, and up in value and down in value. I bought a property in a nonlinear California market back in 2000 for $100,000. 4 years later, that same property sold for more than $300,000. It went up. Now in 2012, that property is probably worth $120,000. It's back down again. That same property in Indianapolis, I could have bought the equivalent type of property in 2000 for probably $50,000. And in 2004, it had just gone up to like maybe $55,000. And in 2012, it's just gone up to like maybe $65,000. It just plugs away every year. Now, the reason those are good for rentals is because you never know when you're going to have to sell a property. You never know when you're going to need that cash. If your rental properties that you're going to hold for a longer term are in a linear market, not only will they give you cash flow every month, not only will they cover the expenses and give you additional money, but when you need to sell them, you can have a lot more confidence that you'll be able to sell them for more than what you bought them for. If you buy rental properties in a nonlinear market and you bought low and it's gone high and now it's down low again and you have to sell, then you're gonna, there's a good chance that you'll take a loss. And everyone knows someone who bought a home at the height of the market, and for whatever reason, loss of job, or they have to relocate, or they need to downsize, has to sell. Now at the bottom of the market, they're looking at walking away from properties, and that's why we had the mortgage crisis. So as you understand the 1% rule, as you understand linear and nonlinear markets, you can make decisions about what you should be doing. Now, one of the things that we teach at our 2-day seminar is how to buy within a system, and how to, even if you live in a market that tends to be a little bit more neutral, like maybe a Texas, how you could sit back at your home and buy rental properties in the best rental markets in the country and flip in the best flipping markets in the country. Because wouldn't that be the ideal? That you get the best returns on your rentals and have somebody else take care of them, and get your best returns on your flips and have partners on the ground that have the ability to work with you. Those are the techniques that we teach. Just like, when you compare that to a stock portfolio, they teach you to buy a balanced portfolio of aggressive and conservative stocks. We teach the equivalent with real estate so that you can maximize the returns on your investment. And we teach you how to understand what kind of strategy you should pursue. And that's the heart of this second technique that we're talking about here, how to know what to do in a market and how to evaluate those markets.